Hey, it was my last day of 8th grade, and to celebrate the momentous occasion that was my leaving middle school and heading to high school, my K-8 parochial Catholic school in Lancaster, Pennsylvania decided to send myself and my entire class on a field trip to the sweetest place on earth, Hershey Park. Now, it was the middle of the week and summer hadn't really started, so myself and my cohorts had the run of the place. And I spent most of my time with two of my best friends, Tommy and Vince. Vince was a quiet kid who was very nice, but Tommy was like me, which is to say, obnoxious. And we were sort of frenemies because we were constantly trying to one-up each other in desperate attempts for attention. So after we had ridden all the rides and gotten bored, Tommy had a genius idea. See, we knew the roller coasters so well that we knew where the cameras were. And so as we approached the cameras on one of the rides, Tommy threw up double aces. And as we got to the photo booth at the end of the ride, there wasn't Tommy's picture with everyone else. It just had a sign that said, "This picture is too obscene to be shown." And everyone laughed and thought it was hilarious, and I was behind Tommy. So in the next ride, to try to one-up him, I did the thing where you stick your finger through your pants. And we get to the end of the ride, and the sign comes up, and everyone laughs. But then Tommy, to top me on the next ride, he goes through, and he does the thing where you lift your shirt up and like pretend to play with your boob. And we go to the end of the ride, and then there's a security guard. And the guard looks at us and he says, "If I catch you boys doing this one more time, I'm gonna have to escort you from the park." And everyone's like, "Oh." So Tommy's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go ride some kiddie rides with Vince because he's too afraid to ride roller coasters." And I'm like, "Fine, I'm gonna go ride a roller coaster with Frank because I'm still behind Tommy and I'm gonna make this up." So Frank and I go on another ride, and then we go on the coaster, and then there's the camera, and we pose, and then we get off the ride, and as we're walking off, there's the sign, and there's the security guard coming up the entrance, but we're walking out the exit, and he sees us, and we start running, and he's like, "You dang kids!" And we're like, "Oh my God!" And we sprint all the way till we find our classmates, and we're hopping. And I'm like, guys, I did it again. And the security guards are totally after us. And they're like, "Oh my God, Mike, what did you do?" And I'm like, "I pretended to give Frank a blowjob." And I'm waiting for like the big explosion of laughter, but instead I've got like a crowd of 14-year-old girls just looking at me like, "That's not really funny, Mike." That's just weird. So our parent chaperones round us up and take us back in a series of minivans to the school. And by the time we get back, it's about 6 o'clock and no one is there. And Tommy, Vince, and I head inside to go to the bathroom. And I'm standing there thinking like, "Oh, I'm running out of time. I got to make this up in front of Tommy before we go to high school. And we're doing our business." And I turn and I look at Tommy and Vince. I'm like, "Guys, remember that prank we talked about doing?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "We should do it." And they're like, "Maybe you should." And before they finish, I perform what is known on the internet as a Shanghai Cobra, which is I drop my pants, I turn around, and I take a dump in a urinal. And I turn and look at Tommy and Vince, waiting for them to like explode in laughter. But instead, their faces are a mix of like shock and horror. I, of course, am standing there, junk in hand, with my pants around my ankles, and now have to waddle my way into a stall to wipe up and finish my business. I come out of the stall expecting Tommy and Vince to now have like seen how amazing this was and be laughing. But instead, they are quietly and hurriedly washing their hands because the smell of this turd is permeating the air. And none of us speaks a word until we are all picked up by our respective parents. 2 days into my summer vacation, I am in my basement playing PlayStation 2 with my cat. The usual. And my mom comes down and says, "Michael, I just got a phone call from the principal. There was an incident in the bathroom and boom, 2 days into my summer vacation, I am sitting in the principal's office at my former K-8 parochial school in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So I am staring at Miss Reddington, who is a large, broad-shouldered woman who is the principal of my school and whose constant red clothing and attire, and name has given her the name Big Red. She also has the mannerisms of the church lady. And she looks at me and she says, well, Michael, there was an incident 2 days ago in the bathroom after the field trip when you and Tommy and Vince went into the restroom. Do you want to tell me what happened in there? Now, at this point, I'm pretty scared. I'm in the principal's office. But at the same time, I'm kind of thinking, unless she calls in CSI to DNA test my crap, there is no way she can pin this on me. And you know what? The least I can get out of this experience, if not getting Tommy and Vince to laugh, is to hear my former middle school principal talk about my dump. So I look at her in the eye, because I know and she knows that I know that I took that dump. And I say, no, Miss Reddington, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she looks at me with a sigh and she says, well, someone went into the bathroom and defecated in a urinal. Yes. And she looks at me and says, do you know who, Michael? Now, after this, she throws a little glance at my mom, and my mom glances at me because my mom knows that I know, that Miss Reddington knows, that we all know who took that crap. And it was me. And this is her chance to see her son show some maturity before he goes to high school. Stand up for what he's done, accept the consequences, and she has gravely overestimated my maturity. Because I'm like, you know what, I've already pissed off Miss Reddington, but I can play the long game here with Mom. I got a whole summer to make this up to her. And I am one good lie away from sneaking out of this. So I look at Miss Reddington and I'm like, no, Miss Reddington, Tommy, Vince, and I all went in there and did our business. And Miss Reddington shoots my mom a quick little look up and down, like, look at you, raising a liar. But I'm halfway out of my chair, have a good summer. At which point, Miss Reddington brings out the one tool that Catholic educators have used for the last 2,000 years on unsuspecting children. Catholic motherfucking guilt. Well, that's a shame, Michael. Because the school janitor, Mr. Bottoms, an unfortunate name for a janitor in the first place, particularly in this situation, Mr. Bottoms had to come clean it up. I can take pissing off Miss Reddington, and this is not the last time I will piss off my mom, but all of a sudden I am reeling because Mr. Bottoms had nothing to do with this. And now this is on me. And now I realize that I can't unlie my way out of this lie, but somehow I feel responsible to him more than anybody. And so I'm sitting in this chair, scrambling, saying, that's a shame, and maybe I can, I'll just come in for a day and I'll help out Mr. Bottoms because, to clear my name. Just, it wasn't me, but, I can just help out. I can help out or something. And I finish as Mr. Reddington sort of has a resigned sigh of satisfaction. And the next day, I'm in my worst pair of jeans and a set of work boots wearing the crappiest t-shirt I've got, standing in the lobby as Mr. Bottoms walks in. And I'm expecting to spend my day on my knees with a toothbrush cleaning up the bathroom floor, or doing whatever else anyone would want to do to a 12-year-old who made them pick up their own crap, or their crap. And Mr. Bottoms looked at me and goes, you Mike? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, are you the boy who had something to do with that old bathroom situation? And I'm like, well, no, but kind of, but not really, sort of. It's like... And I'm thinking, here comes the day of torture awaiting me. And Mr. Bottoms looked at me and goes, well, we gotta do some sweeping up in the hallway, but then if you want, we can just hang out in the gym and play horse. After all the shit I have put him through. No, sorry. He showed me this amazing grace and compassion. And we sweep up some things in the lobby, and then we hang out the rest of the day and play basketball. And Mr. Bottoms is nicer than me than I deserved to be, or should have been treated, or any of that, considering what I had done. And so suddenly, as I'm heading off into high school, I know that part of me probably needs to get attention, and I will do desperate things to get it. But the least I can do is make sure it never hurts anybody else. Thanks.